Lazarus, 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 Lazarus. Hi, I'm Lord Xerus. Welcome back to my castle. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. That last video was a real doozy. You might have noticed that it does kind of take me a while to get these videos out. That's because in these trying times, I am fortunate enough to remain employed full-time. I'm very lucky. Unfortunately, that doesn't afford me the time to do as much work on these videos as I'd like. Having said that, I've noticed you guys really love my helmet video. Not gonna do it. Preparing a helm for SEA combat is easily my most viewed video on the channel. So in an effort to get back to basics, I'm doing another helmet video. So in that video, if you recall, I removed the historical suspension liner that came installed in the helmet from the vendor, a classic handicraft, and I replaced it with a half-inch layer of EVA closed-cell foam. Not my best work. I did that because I was advised by my local marshal that historical suspension liners have a chance of failing, that the metal of the helmet can come into contact with your skull and, cause an injury. Now that I've had this helmet for a year, I can, think back on my experience and think of what I like to change about it, okay? The EVA foam, of course, deteriorates over time. That's just natural because of all the sweat and stuff that comes out of your head when you're fighting. Every so often, a piece of padding will just fall out. So at the very least, I have to replace the padding. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to do something new and different with the helm. Because I like to mix it up and experiment. So let's take a look at the materials that I have available to work with. This is the padding that I ordered from a company called ShockTec. You can find them at ShockTec.com, and they sell basically ballistic grade padding that's made for sports and also for military or police applications. So I was intrigued by this padding and I wanted to check it out. Here we have a couple of rolls of Air2Gel foam. Alright, this comes in a couple of different sizes. This is a 5 square foot roll, which is 3/8 of an inch in width. This one has an adhesive backing, which you can see. You can peel this material off and there's some adhesive on there. This is, I believe they're 1/4 of an inch size. Also 5 square feet. This one does not have the adhesive backing. I don't know what the reason is for that. That really should be an option that they make available. I got these 2 different sizes so that I could mix and match. This is ShockTec's gel. And I was intrigued by this because I thought that gel might be kind of an interesting alternative to foam. Feeling the foam here kind of confirmed my suspicion that the foam actually feels kind of stiff. I want to avoid that in certain parts of the helmet. For instance, at the top of my head, I thought it might be more pleasing to have this gel texture. Ooh, nice and gooey. I found this motorcycle seat insert size on their website. A roll of this was going to be kind of expensive, so, I didn't want to spend that much money. And as it turns out, this is kind of the perfect size. You can make a pretty good helmet squid with just this material. You don't really need a whole lot. I don't know, maybe filming this against a green screen wasn't such a good idea. We also have here the padded chainmail coif that was supplied by a classic handicraft when they made my helmet. I never used this because the padding didn't really seem to be adequate. It didn't meet the requirements of the SCA. And also this was made to be used with the historical helmet liner that came with my helmet. And of course, in retrospect, I'm wishing that I hadn't removed that, because even though my local marshal advised me that historical suspension liner could fail, I feel like it would have been very effective. And a good alternative to what I did do was to just put some padding underneath the suspension liner. So I'm kind of wishing I'd done that. I've just been sitting in my office collecting dust. I would consider using it again, but again, I have concerns that this padding is not thick enough. Another alternative is this, this padded helmet liner that I purchased from Steel Mastery. Okay, now I purchased this back when I had my original helmet, which, if you've seen my unboxing video, it wasn't really super good helmet. It had a lot of flaws, a lot of sharp edges. There was a crack that was forming on the top, and also it was just really very small. It was too small for my head. I custom ordered this helmet liner in an attempt to find adequate protection that would fit my head in that helmet. And so I kind of tried to get them to make this on the smaller side. But of course, when I received it, I put it on, I tried on the helmet, and it didn't fit. So this also just ended up going in my closet. Now that I've got the bigger helmet, I'm thinking maybe this might actually work. Maybe in conjunction with the suspension liner. Maybe even I can use it in combination with some of this foam. Oh, that's kind of a tight fit. Okay, I don't know about this. The appealing thing about a padded liner like this, maybe I should have run this through the wash first. Alas, poor Derek. I hardly knew ye. Another reason a padded liner seems kind of appealing to me is because I realized that I get these splitting headaches. And the headaches don't actually come from the blows. Since the pandemic has started, I've been wearing the helmet without actually getting in any fights, and I still get them after about an hour of wearing the helmet. So I realized that it's probably the sound of my own voice just bouncing around inside the helmet and going straight into my ears. Maybe a padded liner like this might mitigate that kind of pain that I receive from the sound of my own voice. Shh! Quiet down, Xerus! Try to use your inside voice. My inside voice? Wait, talk like this? I'm sorry, what was that? Talk quietly. Couldn't quite hear that. What was that? I can't hear you. I can't hear you! Speak up! Oh no, I feel a headache coming on right now. What can I say? I can project. Do you find that you get headaches when you fight? Well, I definitely know it doesn't work with the foam that I have in there now, so I'm gonna have to strip that out. Yeah, a lot of options here. To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty stressed out about it. I mean, the foam will probably be really easy to do, but the historical liner might be more fun and more interesting. But then if I use one of these, I'll be giving up the ventilation that I've become accustomed to in my helmet. I guess I just gotta make up my mind. Alright, now that we have an idea what kind of materials we have at our disposal, let's get started. The first thing we're gonna have to do is take the existing padding out of this helmet. Just take it off now. You know, truth be told, I actually really like the EVA padding overall. It feels kind of nice, especially after it's been in there for a while. So we'll see how the stiffness of this foam compares with the stiffness of some of this other material that we have to work with. Not gonna lie to you, this stuff feels really stiff. I don't know how comfortable it's gonna be against my head. The color reminds me of like some kind of support undergarment, you know? You know, the biggest thing you want to avoid is having the motion of the blows transfer right into your skull. You don't want to stuff your helmet too full of padding. Alright, let's pull these out. Oh, these gauntlets aren't really good for fine craft work. Let's up our dexterity stat, shall we? Equip workies! Alright, that's better. I'm really reluctant to do this. Feels so wrong to break your own stuff like this. There you have it, that's relatively clean in there. Alright, I'm gonna try on the helmet with nothing more than this padded helmet liner. Let's see how it fits. Okay, well, I can report that this doesn't exactly fit the way I thought it would. It's a little bit tight. It kind of feels like my head is kind of crammed into the helmet. That could be because there's supposed to be a helmet liner there stopping my head from going too far up into it. My eyes seem to be lined up in the right place. My cheekbones feel just a little bit compressed. I don't know, doesn't feel quite right. Let's give it a little knock to see how it feels. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not really liking this a whole lot. You know, I thought this helmet liner was actually supposed to be on the slimmer side, but it actually really feels like the helmet is completely stuffed with my head and the helmet liner in it. And also on the plus side, my voice isn't reverberating so much inside, you know, the helmet. So my ears do feel a little bit more protected from the sound. You know, but when I hit myself, then the sound really just went straight through. It didn't really feel like my ears were protected at all. So, yeah, not really loving it. Alright, let's try something else. I'd love to wear this, but yeah, it just adds another, like, pound to my armor. My armor's already 77 pounds. It's already too heavy as it is, so I don't know if adding an Aventail is really a smart move. A lot of decisions. Look at Maraca. I'm really curious to feel what this material feels like in the helmet. So I'm gonna cut out some pieces, not to affix them quite yet, but I'm gonna fit them in there and just see what it's like. The best long-term solution is going to be making that historical suspension liner. A historical liner is going to have to be glued to the inside of this. There is a way to just kind of bolt it in here, at least temporarily, just to test it out, just to see what it feels like. So I think that's what we're going to do. Don't know if measuring this is really going to make for good television, or good YouTube as it were. 26.5 inches is as wide as it'll go. Even if I do end up using the historical suspension liner, I'm still going to cut some of this padding out to put up under here, just in case that liner fails. I'm going to use my old oval as a starting point, but I know that I want it to be substantially bigger than that because I'm not going to have the little squid arms going away from this, so I need to make sure that this covers a large enough area. You know, draw out a roundish oval shape here. Protect our brain basket, just in case the liner fails. You know, now that I'm doing this, I do seem to recall that the rules say that the padding has to be closed-celled foam. So, you know, even though this is meant to be a motion-canceling gel, I don't know if it necessarily fits the criteria that's spelled out in the SCA rules. I don't know if I would necessarily want to make it too oval because, you know, once you squish it in there, it's gonna fold up like a taco. My drawing skills are really rusty. I can't begin to imagine what's gonna be like when the sweat starts to mix with all the Sharpie pigment. Yeah, that's not gonna be pretty. I'm gonna become an honorary member of the Blue Man Group, know what I'm saying? You know, something about this gel is just very appealing. Kind of reminds me of a lemon jello mold. I don't know, maybe I'm just hungry. You know, one thing I keep forgetting to do is to set up these little demonstrations to be, you know, accommodating for my right-handedness. I think I can kind of keep showing everything off from the wrong angle. One of these days I'll set it up so that you guys can see properly. Not gonna lie though, cutting through this stuff is a lot of fun. It's kind of wonky looking, but it'll have to do for now. It feels kind of funny cutting into a big piece of expensive material like this, knowing that you've done irreparable damage to it. Well, that's what our motto's all about. Don't be afraid to cut. Noli timere Cicero, I don't know. Noli timere sectum semper, I guess. Well, at least it'll be a nice tight fit. No, it looks like it fits pretty snugly in there so far, you know, with these little bumps notwithstanding. Let's try it on, see how it fits. Okay. Feels kind of nice. Where's my happy stick? Definitely needs adjusting because those little bumps are very noticeable. But other than that, kind of got like a nice, smooth, cool feeling. You know, like you just shaved your head and now it's all covered with aftershave. I wonder how that'll feel as it starts to heat up a little bit. All right, let's give it a little blow, shall we? Oh. I don't know, it feels pretty good. Yeah, my head is settling in there. It does have a very snug fit. With the EVA foam, I had 2 layers in there, so I mean, probably be a good idea to put 2 layers of gel in there as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut up the material and get it to fit in there a little bit better, a little bit more snugly. I can't fix it in there permanently yet because I spotted a little bit of rust on the seam there, so that needs to be addressed before we do anything else. I do like the idea of this all being one piece in there, but as you saw, we do need to remove some material in order for it to lay correctly. We just start kind of approximately in the center here. The, you know, Sharpie got all rubbed up, so that definitely means that I have Sharpie on my face right now. Still looks delicious. Still just want to put this in my mouth and go to town. All right, let's pop that in and see if it helps it fit a little better. It's so floppy. The material is overlapping quite a bit, so we're gonna have to do something about that. I'm gonna mark the midpoint here, and then I'm gonna cut the same amount of material from the other side. Of course, I'm not gonna throw away these little shards because they may end up being useful. I always like to keep all of my extra material. Let's try it again. Okay, I actually went in there a little bit easier this time. Okay, we got our material fitting in there pretty snugly, so we can move on. Lemony fresh. I taste blue. All right, we're gonna dress our rust spot real quick. Should be an easy job. Just get our paint. Who knows how long it's been rusting up underneath the padding. I noticed that the helmet consistently gets all kinds of wear patterns too. You know, the paint always wants to tend to wear out right along this edge here. And there's always a spot in front of my mouth. The paint always wants to come off right there. Maybe it's because of my breath. I got like acid breath or something. That was easy enough. All right, well, while that dries, I figured I'd start working on my historical liner. And I think I'm running into a problem here. I'm realizing that I don't have enough leather really to recreate this in one piece. I looked at the old video of me removing this liner and I counted 8 lobes. At some point in time, I cut this in half. I used the leather for some other projects. If I were to recreate this piece, I would have to basically double its length. But I don't have a piece of leather that's long enough. Not only is the leather not long enough, but it's also kind of not a good quality leather. I mean, this part's nice and thick, but then as it comes over here, it gets a little bit thinner. It's a little bit inconsistent. You see this leather's been slightly damaged by moisture here. So if I want to go ahead with this historical liner, I'm going to have to buy some more leather. I mean, this material from ShockTec already cost a pretty penny, so I don't know if I want to spend a whole lot more on it. at this moment. I might decide to go ahead and invest in some higher quality leather when I want to do an additional project, such as add an aventail to this helmet. You know, even in adding this historical liner, I was gonna have to do some things that I was dreading a little bit, like, you know, widening these holes. Drilling through hardened steel is not exactly easy, and I don't really want to do something like, you know, mess with the heat treatment of the helmet, because that's a pain in the butt, and if I mess it up, I'm not really equipped to fix it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish padding this helmet with this ShockTec gel, just because I'm actually really curious how that would turn out. There's a little bit of time before the lockdown due to the pandemic is going to end, so I've got a little bit of time to mess around with the helmet. I'm just going to scratch that itch now while I have the chance. Alright, well, before we do anything, we should probably do some measurements. I think in the last helmet, there were a couple of weird pressure points, so let's see if we could distribute things a little bit better this time around. You know, now looking at this, maybe a smart thing to do would be to cut material all the way around and not leave so much of it open. Although I did say that I did want to leave some of it open for ventilation. Maybe since what I want to do is kind of protect my ears, is cover this area that's over here between the ears. That's just about the right length. So I do want to widen this a little bit. I know this is a very non-scientific way of measuring. I'm just kind of, you know, roughing it out. Trying not to be too completely anal about it, because if I do, I'll just, you know, be here all day, and I don't want that. It doesn't really pay to be too super precise, because you're gonna have to end up trimming it down anyway. Ordinarily, I am very precise and controlling, but I don't know what it is. Sometimes these projects, I don't know, they get me a little bit impatient, or if I just feel like, you know, there's really no way of doing it other than just diving in. I've already been pretty indecisive about this project, so I'm kind of feeling like, you know, whatever it takes to push me to go forward. I have noticed that as I cut out this material, the edges of it is really sticky to the touch. So, I don't know, I might have to do something about that. I'll be, you know, curious to see how this works. I apologize if your OCD alarms are going off. Actually, this is not the first time that I just start, you know, eyeballing stuff and kind of doing things, you know, a little bit spontaneously. I had a friend one time who watched me do some leather working, and he was telling me that he couldn't just eyeball it. You know, he had to measure it very precisely, otherwise he couldn't do it. So yeah, to each their own. Hopefully I didn't screw this up too much. Not too bad for eyeballing it, right? Let's mark that chin strap, about that wide, about that high. Oh, wow. How did we end up with so much extra material on this side? See? I told you, you end up doing a lot of cutting on here. I do want to leave open a little bit of space for ventilation, as I keep saying. I'll cut out that little section here and use that on the brow. The gooiness of this material is worrying me a little bit. It's very gooey. Lemon jello. Just want to pop it into my mouth. My ability to discern a good cutting line through this gel is getting very murky here. Kind of losing control. I think it's time to start sticking stuff in there. It's kind of a scary moment, because I know that if I ever wanted to go back to doing that historical liner thing, I'd have to tear a bunch of this stuff out. And I don't look forward to doing that. And, you know, you just gotta pick one and move forward with it. That's we can't sit around thinking about it forever. I just got a little moist paper towel, a little bit of hand soap on there. Hopefully that'll do the trick. A lot of it is getting soaked up into my glove. It's proving to be a little bit tougher to remove than I thought. It'll definitely seep into my face. I'll come back from the field after a really, really tough fight, and on my face will just be blue. I'm blue now. A little bit scared to use any kind of chemical solvent on here. Last thing I want to do is dissolve my gel. You know, hopefully most of this stuff is kind of, you know, now permanently stuck to the gel. Although my feeling is that we're going to discover that human sweat is really effective at drawing a marker out. Okay, well, all right, let's press ahead, shall we? Time to make the pie! Oh no, I think we might have missed our mark a little bit. Looks like we salvaged it. Okay, all right. Oh, it's still crooked. I managed to massage it in there into a reasonable place. It's not perfect. The very sticky nature of this adhesive meant that it was never going to be perfect. I didn't want to keep playing with it because I don't know how long the adhesive is gonna let me keep pulling it up and then reapplying it. Kind of sloppy. Not my best work. Oh, it turns out there's an extra layer of plastic that looks like it covers the other side. I don't think this top layer is supposed to come off. Yeah, it seems like a little bit more permanently fused onto the end there. This is probably there to mitigate that stickiness I was talking about. All right, well, it looks like we're gonna have to trim that. Don't stick the gel to itself. That would be a disaster. Stuck to my gloves, stuck to my gloves. Getting stuck to my gloves, that's not good. I have noticed that this gel, because of its inherent flexibility, is a little bit more pliant than the foam. Over time, torsion in the material will cause it to come unstuck. I bent this material a little bit to follow this curve right here. I don't know what kind of consequences that's going to have later, so that's another thing we're going to have to keep an eye on. I do need to trim that edge a little bit. Yeah, this liner feels very different from the liner that is covering the adhesive side. It's a little bit more stretchy, which to me indicates that it belongs on the front of the material and is meant to be there permanently. You know, not like this stuff, which is a little bit more plasticky and kind of peels off really easily. Don't want this sticking to my gloves. No, it's sticking to itself. It's precisely what I didn't want. Got some little extra sticky stuff. It's a little bit harder to get this material up to the edge here. I had to pull it off a couple times, which I could feel the adhesive kind of being like, can't take too much more of this. Oh, friggin' EVA foam. Your time in the spotlight is done. Get out of here. All right, we got our gel padding in there, looking relatively straight, relatively even, so now we just got to trim out all of the extra material. Why always do this to me, glove? All right, let's try it on. Couple of observations. Yeah, helmet does feel a little bit too low, so I'm going to need some extra padding on the top there to bring it up to eye level. I will say this padding feels a little bit more comfortable than the foam padding, but I think that had to do with the way that the padding was affixed inside the helmet. Now you saw that what we did with the gel padding is that we made a very big circle with a wedge cutout so that it would conform to the inside curvature of the helmet. With the EVA foam, I didn't do that. What I did was that I could put a couple of discs in a very central location and then had the arms coming out from the sides. So what there might have been was just like more pressure on fewer points. Now the gel feels like it's really cupping my head. Another observation is that, I can still really feel the hardness of the helmet, when I bump it against my head like this through the padding. So clearly there's not enough padding on there. I do wonder if maybe the gel isn't a little bit too elastic. I do feel that the elasticity of the gel is both its weakness and its strength. Maybe that's why you see this gel more often being used for seat cushions rather than for helmet padding. All right, well, let's figure out what else to put in here. I totally forgot to put in this material right here in the brow. I have a piece here which is more or less perfectly cut for that little part right there, so we're going to go ahead and stick that in there. Want to get it as close to this metal edge as possible. I did try on the helmet a couple more times with and without this layer here, and I did realize that the helmet is too low on my head, and the reason I know that is because it is possible to push the helmet down and have this brow hit my nose kind of a little bit painfully, so that is definitely not enough clearance. I am a little bit concerned because this is a non-porous material that the sweat may get a little bit more trapped in there, but we definitely do need to add another layer or two in here. Does look kind of funny though, huh? Kind of looks like it's lined with lemon jello. So line your helmet with lemon jello. What could possibly go wrong? Alright guys, so I went ahead and cheated a little bit. I did all of this while you weren't looking. And let me explain to you why exactly it didn't work. What I did is I took the film covering the adhesive on the other piece of gel that I cut, and I just used this to cut a pattern out of the gel here. And then I just kind of kept cutting away at it until it fit right inside that original piece of gel right up in there, okay? I did that because I don't really have enough gel left over. See, we're kind of running a little low on gel. This is all gel that I have left. Because I'm kind of running out of gel, I decided to go ahead and switch over to foam. And that was kind of actually my original plan. I was planning to utilize both of these materials in tandem with one another. That would take advantage of the elasticity of the gel to absorb the motion of the helmet, and then the foam, which is a little bit more rigid. Turns out I kind of have to do it that way because I don't have enough gel to do all of the parts I had anticipated. I decided to add this piece all around. With all of this in here, it turns out I put this on my head, and I felt it all tugging on my hair, which was not really great. It kind of could feel my hair getting pulled out. My hair is kind of long right now. Thanks to the pandemic, I haven't had a haircut in about 6 months or something like that. So maybe what I really need is a haircut. In any case, this isn't really working out. Even if I ignore the hair pulling, my eyes are no longer level out of the eye holes. Now, instead of looking out here, I'm looking out, my eyes are like down here somewhere. So I am going to have to pull this stuff out, and then I'm probably going to have to limit this kind of radial padding here to just the front. Not going to cut it in half because I don't want it to land right at my temples. That's a bad idea. So I'll probably end up cutting it off here, you know, along with this other brow padding right there. Oh, actually, no. Actually, this comes very dangerously close to touching my face. And if I do push on the front of the helmet, it actually does end up touching my face, and that's a big no-no. If I get a hit right on the front of this thing, it's gonna, you know, swing right into my jaw and, you know, break my teeth. Obviously, we don't want that. So I gotta make sure that the padding here on the front cheeks is enough so that no matter how hard you push on the front, it will never come into contact with my face. And the whole point of the helmet is to keep your face safe and to keep it beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
And if your face is not beautiful, I don't want anything to do with you.
And there you have it, fellas. You want to keep your face beautiful. Instead of having this go around like this, I'm going to have this come to the side here and then have a strip come down to the cheeks and to, you know, buff to, you know, what do you call that? What's that arch thing that they're always making butt jokes about? Buttress. Thank you. I'm going to change this around, cut it up so that buttresses the cheeks to keep that from touching the face there. So, all right, I'm going to pull this out now because I want to show you why I did this. The gel is kind of now coming a little loose from parts of the helmet. So that's bad news. This foam is a lot more rigid than the gel, and I was trying to, you know, leverage that to my advantage in order to support the gel and try to keep it from coming loose in there. Enough talk, Zeros. Let's get to work. All right, for now, I'm just gonna mark front pad here. Okay, so I went ahead and cut this down and tried it on, put the helmet on, and then I kind of crammed these up into place. Everything did fit pretty snugly, and I went ahead and I hit myself in the head with this stick here. I gotta say, it didn't feel so great. You know, it kind of felt like the helmet was a little bit overstuffed. You know, this ShockTec foam does feel a lot more, you know, stiff than the EVA foam that I was using before. I don't know what really the differences are in terms of its motion canceling properties. That's how they market this foam, as being motion canceling, and it's supposed to be protection for your head and, you know, certain military and police applications. So you know, I don't know. I don't really know what the reality of it is. The way it feels to me is that it feels basically the helmet is full of stiff padding, and so if you get hit in the head, it kind of gonna transfer motion right into your head. This gel to me seems like a little bit more promising in terms of kind of canceling that motion. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace this brow part here, you know, with this gel piece. All right, so I've experimented with this a little bit. I tried using these to support the cheeks there. That felt a little bit painful. This felt good. This part of the brow felt pretty good. But what I'm finding is that the whole balance of the helmet's a little bit off. Again, I'm finding that my eyes are a little bit too low. There's maybe a little bit too much padding up here. So maybe what I need to do is just kind of trim the sides of these down a little bit, or maybe even just move the balance of this so that the center point is towards the back. Got my headpiece here. I'm ready to install this. Kind of found a good position where it's you know, holding my head up in the right place. I also cut out these mutton chops for the side. You know, I noticed that the padding here, when I stack it up, kind of puts a lot of pressure on my cheeks. So I'm hoping that this gel material will make it a little bit more comfortable. You know, actually something I did notice when I was trying on the helmet was that the sides of these get really sticky, and so I noticed that they kind of tend to grab onto my facial hair. All right, let's try it. What the heck? Uh-oh. Seem to be running into a problem here. This cloth doesn't want to seem to come off. Is it possible that I was just completely wrong about what this material is? I thought this was adhesive backing that you could peel off. But it turns out that might not even be the case. And let me peel this other piece since it's not that important. There's no sticky stuff under there. That's just, you know, dry as a bone. That's just part of the structure of the foam itself. That's egg on my face. I guess I'm gonna have to find another way of adhering this to the helmet. Okay, so I walked away from this for a little while, and I came back to find that this had happened. The gel had just fallen clean off the helmet. You know, the fact of the matter is this gel is a little bit heavier than the foam. And I decided to go buy some adhesive, so you know, I figured I'd buy some of this, some gel glue here, maybe some of this stuff, and you know, some crap people swear by, so I thought I'd give that a shot. I thought some of these glues might dry a little bit too hard, so I thought maybe, all right, I'm gonna try silicone, I'm gonna give that a shot, I don't know. I even picked up some of this. This stuff's become pretty notorious ever since that video of that young woman, you know, using this Gorilla spray adhesive as a hair product. Let's try not to repeat that mistake, okay? Did a little bit of Googling online to see what other people were using. You know, and I realized, you know, hey, why complicate my life? Why don't we use some Velcro? Yeah. Because instead of, you know, putting all this stuff into our helmet and gumming it up and creating layers of sediment that we have to peel up later on, why don't we use a permanent solution that isn't permanent? Does that make any sense? I don't know. I'm losing my mind here. This video's already gone on for way too long. See? This is, it came off already. Alright, Velcro, let's work your magic. Well, here's a fun debate for you guys to have in the comment section is, which side to put on your helmet. The fuzzy side or the stiff side? Talk amongst yourselves, as they used to say on Coffee Talk. Who remembers that skit on Saturday Night Live? I might as well just be asking, who's old? Are you old? I'm old. Cool thing about Velcro is you don't really have to be super exact. Peel the adhesive backing here. Alright, I'm hoping one sticky surface doesn't cancel out the other sticky surface. That would be weird. Alright, so far so good. Now you want to make sure that you apply the right side to the padding and keep it consistent, because you don't want to, you know, have to keep switching back and forth and then, you know, match it every time you want to replace the padding. That's a pain in the butt. I'm putting them both on at the same time because I'm thinking that's going to be an easier way to apply the padding into the helmet once this is all fixed here, rather than trying to place it and then guess where it's supposed to go, you know? Trying to peel up some of this adhesive that was left behind by the gel, and now it's peeling up some of our paint, which is revealing some of that rust underneath, and that's not a good thing. You notice there's also a little bit of sediment in there that's from this adhesive that I was scraping off the back of the helmet. And it's got all dirty. You have to clean this out. I'm tempted to pull this out of there, but I'm also kind of tempted to leave it in there, see if it'll stay. You know, I bet if I leave it like this, I mean, that'll be the true test. Just let gravity do all the work. Paint is always peeling off these edges, probably because of the amount of friction and moisture that they get. Now, one thing to keep in mind as you're adding your Velcro is that this probably will add a little bit of thickness to your padding. All right, so I actually stepped away for a couple days. You know, I left the helmet for the paint to dry, and surprisingly, this layer of padding up here has not fallen off like the other one did. So to me, that suggests that the reason that this side fell off was because the adhesive backing had worn off, you know, after I'd kind of messed around with it a little bit. So if you manage to get it on there quickly enough, it won't come as loose as this one did. So anyway, I'm a little bit reluctant to actually remove this padding because I started trying to peel this off and it actually wasn't very easy. I was kind of afraid that I was actually going to tear this padding. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just keep this in place and, you know, not deal with it. And if it ever does come off, which usually, inevitably, the padding does, I'll just replace the adhesive backing with the Velcro. And also, we'll see how the Velcro stands up. All right, guys, well, let's see if I can get it in there without getting this adhesive all worn out. You know, I peeled off the backing off of these Velcro strips, and even those were kind of temperamental. Don't beat yourself up if you mess it up the first time. All right, hopefully that's a little bit more stable. I did cut this middle piece a little bit wider. I forgot. I forgot that the sticky part was exposed. So stop yammering and just get it in there. This helmet looks symmetrical, but really it isn't. Just like my head. All right, I gotta say, that worked really well. It feels really stable. Because this material is kind of stiff, and when we put it in there, there's enough tension to just keep it in there. Maybe it'll just stay in place. And it stays in there, it stays put. Now, who knows, when it gets all sweaty and stuff, we'll see how well that sticks in there. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. Anyway, alright, let's try this on, shall we? Oh, actually, I realize we can't try this on yet because we have not yet added these mutton chops to pad the cheeks from the front of the helmet. Oh, shoot, actually, this goes on the other side. Dang it. Looks delicious. It's like flubber. Ah, cool. One shot of that one. Cool beans. Don't screw it up, Xerus, with your Mickey Mouse hands. Wrong place. Put in the wrong place. Okay. This'll actually keep this other pad in place up here, too. I got a little spare piece of padding. I think I'm just gonna add it up there, and after everything is said and done, your head's gotta fit inside the thing, because if it doesn't, you got a real problem. Okay. Alright, that's on there. Hey, wait a minute. I can't see anything. Where is everybody? Oh, wait, I think... Oh, yeah, there we go. Visor wasn't down all the way. So one thing I can tell you right away after putting this on is that if you have long, beautiful, luxurious locks, this gel might tug on that a little bit. Because like I described before, the gel is a little bit tacky. Overall, you know, there's something not quite right about it. I did feel like I had to overcompensate with the cheek padding. In the previous version of the padding, I did overcompensate for the weight of the visor by double padding on the forehead. And that created some kind of pressure points on my forehead. But because I was using that squid design, so 2 of the arms came down the front on the forehead. In this version, you saw how I have just like one solid piece for the entire top of the head. That kind of distributes the pressure more evenly along my forehead. So I definitely don't notice it now. Yeah, like once you get situated in there, you know, the gel heats up a little bit. It feels pretty good. The balance is good. I can see out of the eye holes okay. I'm still a little worried about this. It's a little bit too easy to push this down towards my face. So that might need some adjustment. I don't know what to do about that, other than maybe add some more material up in the forehead. Alright, well, I guess there's nothing really left to do other than subject it to the last test. And that's hitting it with a stick. Oh, okay. It didn't hurt, really. Oh, alright. Okay. Oh. Okay, well, it's not the greatest feeling in the world, but it doesn't hurt either. So, adding that extra padding really, I think, helped a lot. If I were to give a review of these hits, I would say that there's a slight ringing in the helmet, which does kind of reverberate to my ears. Ugh. I feel like the helmet does vibrate a little bit more, but like maybe that's a good thing, because that's like means that it's sloughing off the energy from the hit. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to gauge. I have to wear this in a real fight to see how... Oh, jeez. Oh. Okay, I don't want to give myself brain damage here. You know, there's a little kind of a slight buzzing going on. So I gotta figure out if that's going on in my head or in my ear or what. Alright, I realized that the helmet wasn't fitting quite right and that it was because the padding on the top is just a little bit too thick. Alright, so I got out this roll of slightly thinner material to cut out another piece. I elongated it a little bit so that it would cover all the way from the front to the back. I don't know how it's going to work out. This time I put the blue side up. Take that, Blue Man Group. This might not be working out the way I anticipated. It looks like we're going to have to cut out a much bigger slice this time. Probably the kind of mystery we could figure out by measuring. I think I overdid it. Still getting that little bit of overlap in there. Maybe if I just cut it directly like this. Now you notice that I did end up putting the blue marker side down, and the reason is because this material, you know, appears to have sides. This is a kind of a porous, spongy side, and this is a finished side, which is a little bit less porous, maybe not as absorbent, and it's probably better to put that towards the facing outwards, you know, so that the moisture doesn't permeate that quite so easily. I think that's what that surface is designed to do, to repel moisture. I could be wrong, I don't know. One thing I do want to do though is kind of add extra material in the brow, because I do feel like this helmet is very front heavy. Now this material is back to its old trick of overlapping, so if I want to make that permanent, I'm gonna have to trim more of this. It actually fit pretty well in there. Okay, that does actually seem to be fitting rather well. Seems to be staying at the correct level without the chin strap. So that's an important development. Okay. Yeah, there's still kind of a ringing in my ears. The helmet's still riding up a little bit. I keep having to adjust the helmet to keep my eyes level. Now, this seems to work a little better now with that kind of thinner material in there. Kind of feels, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to it now, but... So I realized that gluing these mud chops in there was a little bit premature, because now every time I put the helmet on, it feels a little tight, and it's always grabbing onto my hair, so I wanted to rethink this. I actually kind of glued them in there using this Gorilla Glue, which actually worked pretty well. I mean, when I walk away, usually the part that's using the peel-off adhesive is actually comes off, but the stuff that's stuck with the Gorilla Glue stays put. So I think I'm going to keep using that. So I use these peel-off plastic sheets that I got off of the shapes that I cut out of the gel, and I use them as patterns in order to make cutouts for the foam. And I use the thinner foam here. And my plan is I want to pull out these mutton chops. They're a little bit too thick, and I think the padding is a little bit too front heavy. You can also see how inside the helmet I kind of trimmed this foam here. I actually did flip it over because I'm not really sure which side of the foam is supposed to be the front and which is supposed to be the back. And it occurred to me that this shinier, more finished surface is actually supposed to go towards the front, towards the outside, you know, towards the bullet or the, you know, the projectile or whatever hits you. Kind of decided it was okay to flip this over inside here. Mainly as a way to keep the blue marker off of my face, honestly. And then I cut out a section here so that it would interlock with this padding that was already here in the brow. You know, because overall I'm having a problem that I'm not looking directly out of the eye holes. That my eye line is just a little bit too low. So I'm hoping by pulling out these mutton chops that that's going to help mitigate that problem. I don't know if it will. We'll see. All right, see if I can just pull this out. Oh. Now, see, this part's easy enough, but then when I get to the part where I have the Gorilla Glue, that's going to be an issue pulling that up. Oh, actually, that wasn't too hard. This Gorilla Gel glue might be a pretty good alternative for all the stuff we've been using because it holds in place really well, but it's also not so strong that it didn't allow me to pull this off. Let's pull out this other one. You can see this is peeling off the Velcro there. Maybe I will just pull off the Velcro too because I'm not too happy with the Velcro. It takes up more room than it needs to. All right, so I pulled my mutton chops out of there. I got my foam shapes cut out here. I just want to mention, I think I'm going to leave that Velcro in there for now, just because I want to test to see what's going to last longer, the Velcro or the adhesive backing. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to affix these in there with tape, just so I can try them on. How many of you guys know this trick? This is handy for like wrapping Christmas gifts and the textbooks that schools give you with a brown paper sack. All right, so everything's taped in there. It's not supposed to be beautiful. It's just supposed to work well enough so we can try the helmet on. Gotta try it on. Oh no, oh no, oh no. All right, I went ahead and tried this on and get myself a few wraps in the head. I didn't really love how it felt. Still was getting a kind of a ring into my ears. The hits felt kind of still a little bit hard. Harder than they did with the mutton chops, that's for sure. A lot of my opinion really right now is being influenced by the fact that, you know, this helmet with all this padding in here is really yanking on my hair every time I try to put it on. So that's really making it difficult for me to be objective right now. What I need to do is I really need to go get a haircut. So if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go get one. So I'll be right back, okay? All right, guys, so work got really busy again, and I had to step away from this for, you know, about a week and a half. I don't really remember where I left things off, but I just wanted to show you what I did. I went ahead and pasted in all of these extra panels, kind of doubled up on the padding, and then I tried it on. The helmet's really coming together. The inside's starting to look really nice and tidy here. We've got more than the minimum amount of padding required. Each of these gel layers on their own were just a little bit shy of the required padding. So I thought it was kind of important to double up there. The only problem now is that the fit inside here is just a little bit too snug. I was looking at my head and checking out the shape of it. I did notice that it does kind of widen out towards the back there. So I'm wondering if maybe what I ought to do is maybe trim off part of these pads right here. We're almost done, guys. I can feel it. So it turns out that removing this padding after it's been glued in there is actually a little bit harder than I anticipated. So what ended up happening is that I kind of ended up having to rip the padding out with my fingers. So that didn't go as smoothly as anticipated. I thought I was going to be able to just kind of fold it up and then, you know, cut it with the shears and make a nice clean cut, but that turned out not to be the case. This Gorilla Glue is actually a lot stronger than I thought it would be. The helmet still fits really snugly. I mean, I put it on there and it's a really tight fit. It's just now it's not squeezing the top of my head the way it was before. You know, it's probably not a good idea to have something squeeze your head for several hours at a time. It's about time we wrap up this project. So let's try it on one last time and see how it feels. Alright guys, so my helmet's fitting nice and snug, but it's not squeezing the top of my head like a grape. I think it's feeling pretty good. I took out some of that padding on the side because, you know, the top of my head is like big and bulbous, like a light bulb or something. So now it feels a little bit more comfortable. Now I realize my eyes don't quite line up with the eye slot correctly, but I realize that probably has more to do with the chin strap than with the padding. So, you know, maybe at some point I'm gonna have to, you know, adjust the chin strap somehow. All that's left to do is kind of hit the helmet and see how it feels. Now, I actually dug out my regulation SEA sword because I realized I was hitting myself with a prop that I made for that little comedy skit that I did with the Teutonic Penguin. If you look at this prop rattan, it's not actually made the way a regular SEA sword is made. There's just a cosmetic layer of tape on top. But, you know, out in the field, rattan is rattan, so I kind of figure it kind of doesn't matter. Alright, well, bombs away. Oh. Yeah. Actually, that feels pretty good. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel great, but getting hit in the visor doesn't feel bad at all. Getting hit on the top of the head is actually pretty... That's where that padding really shines, is up on the top. Getting hit on the side, it's a little bit jarring, but there's no discomfort there. Getting hit on the back of the head is probably the, you know, kind of the weakest point there. That's not such a big deal, because, you know, that's kind of the hardest place to hit on the whole helmet, so... Now, if I hit myself with this piece of just almost bare rattan, oh, you can see it's a lot more noisy. And it does ring a lot worse. Padding seems pretty stable, seems to be doing its job. Can't really complain about it. Give it a couple of whacks with a greatsword. Oh! Ah! Oh! Oh! Oh man, alright. Well, there's a lot of motion, but no pain. It's hard for me to say how well the ShockTec foam and gel are canceling the motion from the strikes. I mean, I can definitely feel them. And unfortunately, I don't have a helmet that lined with EVA foam that I can use for reference, you know, to compare the two experiences. But overall, it feels like the ShockTec padding is doing its job. Now, all that's left to do, really, is wear this helmet in a fight and see how it holds up over time. I do get the feeling that, you know, all of those little hits will add up, and after a period of a few hours, that my head will probably feel a little bit tingling after all that fighting. So, we'll just have to see how it does in the field. Alright, everybody. Well, I think that's where I'm going to end the video for today. I hope you learned a little bit about ShockTec padding and had some fun hanging out, working on our helmets together. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget our motto, don't be afraid to suck. I'll see you on the battlefield. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's enough. Alright. Alright.